Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Feed Me Sports podcast. I think we are officially at Feed Me Sports number 12. I think this is 12.
10.
No, we passed 10. I think we missed 10. We miscounted a lot. Math was never our strong suit. Thank you.
I told you we don't really count very well.
Yeah, thank you, Gary Schufelt, for not teaching me too much. So tonight on the podcast, we have our first guest, and a very special guest, because we are missing one Lewis, because, again, he is MIA. We do not have a creative outlet for him this time. We don't have a creative thing for where he went.
Nah, it's just he's on senior week.
Yeah, he's just enjoying himself. So he's just right now.
Really
Lewis
Lewis
is sitting in a hot tub, plastered, and can't stand straight.
Yeah,
he has no idea what a computer looks like at this point to actually even do this podcast. So tonight we've gotten the best replacement, because if you can't get one Lewis Schaefer, and Lewis Schaefer Sr. doesn't answer my calls, I got Mike Schaefer, which is pretty close.
It's the next best thing.
I don't know. I think if we could get your dad on, since he's technically still Lewis Schaefer, I could make it work.
Your podcast would change to a heavy dose of Donald Trump, and nobody wants that.
I would love to vigorously debate Donald Trump with your father.
Donald Trump and the National Rifle Association.
Oh, please. Both of which I'm not a part of.
That might be the one show where I am absent. I'll go to whatever hot tub Lewis is at, just grab a couple of margaritas and call it a day.
I just want to play devil's advocate for it, even if I agree with what he's saying. Just devil's advocate to everything.
There you go.
So
just play the heel. You're better as the heel. Yeah.
Absolutely. So welcome to the show, Mike. This is your inaugural episode. This is also, I'll call this one your tryout, because starting in the summer, I might miss a few episodes. So then you'll be added in now, and
I will be Ryan Clark to your Max Kellerman / Stephen A. Smith.
No, essentially, I'm gonna be David Otunga, and you're gonna be Booker T.
So I can team up with Goldust afterwards.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice. Makes me a big baller.
You can be in a few WWE movies as the stereotypical gangster number 5.
No lines, just hold the gun, stand there, get shot by the Miz.
Exactly. Absolutely your job. Good luck with it. So we'll start off this podcast talking about the NBA playoffs, and we'll have a small update. Basically, LeBron is going to walk over Isaiah Thomas, both physically and, just in theoretical sense. And then the Spurs, without Kawhi Leonard, are essentially 6 guys they picked out of a homeless shelter, and that against the Monstars before Bugs' special stuff gets introduced.
Yeah, I can't really debate that. It's just kind of when does the NBA final start for me at this point?
No, really, what it is for me in the NBA at this point is, can we get to June yet?
Yeah.
I truly don't care about the rubber match of the third time seeing those guys go at it. I truly don't give a crap in whether the Spurs can pull this out, because I know they can't. I have a fool's hope in Boston, but in my heart of hearts, I know that's a lost cause. So it's just not worth it to me to watch it anymore.
Well, at the end of the day, you had... Go ahead, Birch.
No, I was just going to say it's over. I mean, I'm just biding my time before part 3 goes.
Yeah.
Well, but you get the exciting series. I don't know about you guys, but I thought Houston and San Antonio, until the real James Harden stood up in Game 6. Until that game, it was a very exciting series. I think Boston and Washington was one of the best playoff series in basketball I've seen in a long time. But like you said, it's all a moot point, because as soon as they run to Cleveland and as soon as they run to Golden State, that's your season. You're done.
Yeah, well, I think that the NBA playoffs this year have been real dull. I mean, minus the matches you brought up, Mike. Boston and Washington, I think, was probably the most exciting. I think I set the bar of expectation way too high for Houston and San Antonio, and then like you said, James Harden. The real James Harden showed up, and it was just kind of like, oh, well, that's not what I had hoped for. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just kind of like a mute point. I mean, It's basically you're playing to play the Cavs and Warriors and then be sent home while they go duke it out in the coming weeks.
But
this is the way those teams are built. There was a 0.0% chance that either Boston and or San Antonio make it to game 6, let alone the finals. They won't get to 6 games.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that, but I think there's one silver lining to all of this, is that LeBron James is now in his 30s. So soon, this will all be over.
I say 12 more years.
Yeah, just 12 more years.
Yeah, another 12 years with him.
Right, but there's going to be a certain point where he goes from being Bulls Michael Jordan to Wizards Michael Jordan, and that's the
so he's going to go play baseball?
Hopefully.
No, he would definitely. I think he would play football. I think he would try for the Browns before he go to baseball.
Better than Josh Gordon at this point.
Yeah,
he would have a longer career. But I just think there's like you said, in those matchups, there's a glimmer of hope for what the NBA could be as a competitive sport that actually intrigues me. And then I get a quick reminder of, no, LeBron's still here. But yeah, I think, up until this series, these 2 series right here, I was intrigued. Utah taking out LA was an interesting series. You had, Russell Westbrook against James Harden, both MVP candidates were up there facing each other. That was an interesting series. But past that, it's just utterly, utterly worthless to watch the next 4 games until the finals start. And then you can watch the first game to see how good Kevin Durant is going to do against LeBron. And then once you figure that out, you pretty much have your series figured out.
Exactly. Because you look back to, was it 2014 that the Heat faced the Thunder in the finals? Kevin Durant went out. It was 13 and 14. Kevin Durant went out and played like crap in the first game, and it didn't help that James Harden, who was just coming off 6th Man of the Year, also played like crap, like you saw.
It was actually the 2012 NBA Finals.
2012. But you look at a situation like that where if that Kevin Durant shows up, which typically in a big game, that's the Kevin Durant that shows up when he's being guarded by LeBron James. And then you also take the fact that Steph Curry, who their next best option is, if Kevin Durant plays like that, is going to be guarded by Kyrie Irving.
Well, no, their next best option is Klay Thompson. No, it's Klay Thompson.
No, I'll tell you what. I think for me, it's Draymond actually, because I don't think Kevin Love can keep up with him.
No, well, yeah.
I just don't think that there's any way Kevin Love can keep up with him physically.
If you watch the last 2 series with them, it's been it's been Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and that's their entire team because, like you said, Steph's locked down, and now KD is locked down. It used to be Iguodala, or Harrison Barnes or whoever, yes. But it's going to come down to whether Kyle Korver or J.R. Smith or whoever they decide to throw out there can stop Klay Thompson, and whether Kevin Love can stop Draymond Green. If both of those answers is a yes, it's over for the Warriors.
You also get a situation where 2 years ago, this is a team that did beat Cleveland. Yeah, they lost last year. But like you guys said last week, it's the rubber match.
Yeah.
So, they did win a series with Harrison Barnes playing the 3. You now have Kevin Durant playing the 3, which I don't know what you guys think, but I'd rather have Kevin Durant over Harrison Barnes.
Well, also when they had Harrison Barnes, Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving weren't playing.
That is true.
Yeah, you got to remember that. I mean, that first matchup, the Cavs were handicapped without Kyrie and
K-Love against Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson.
Against Steph Curry.
As much as I don't like LeBron and as much as I really can't stand either of these 2 teams, I'll never take away the fact that LeBron is a damn good player, but he's also a player that does need some help. I mean, he can carry you so far, but when you're the Warriors who had Steph, Klay, and Draymond and Harrison Barnes just chucking threes, I mean, there's only so much he could do. And you saw last year when they actually had K-Love and Kyrie, they made it a series, and they took the series. So I think it's going to be interesting now because you look at it like LeBron's going to be on KD, Kyrie's going to be on Steph, JR is going to be on Klay Thompson, and the X factor I really think is going to be Draymond Green because I do not think Kevin Love can cover him. And if Draymond Green gives you 20 to 30 points, I really think the Warriors can take that.
Again, watch game one and you can decide the entire series, and that's what's going to come down to. And as sad as that is for a sports fan to have a best of 7 series where you watch one game and decide, I know who's going to win.
I don't know about this one though, because this one's just it's like weird because last year I thought the Warriors had it again, and then there was that clutch block, and then all of a sudden the Cavs had life. So who's to say? I mean, I could see your point with game one kind of being like the deciding factor, but the thing for me, at least when I look at it, is LeBron wants to repeat with Cleveland. KD jumped ship to the Warriors to chase a ring. So with that being said, I mean, I think there's going to be fire from both sides, and I definitely think it's a 6-7 game series.
Oh yeah, but I'm still not going to watch 5 out of the 6 games because I'm more what's going to happen.
I'm more curious about. Yeah, I'm more curious about games 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah,
that's what I always do. When
you can wake me up when it's almost
3
over.
to whatever. That's when I watch.
The first few games, I don't give a crap. So we'll stay in the NBA, but jump to what happened about 2 nights ago.
Robbed. It's rigged.
Birch is going to have his opinion about what happened.
Rigged. It is sad.
But the most
sad.
But here's what I think about looking at it. Looking at it, it's been 2 days, and I'm no longer in Philadelphia, so I'm no longer trying to just survive and get out of there.
Sixers fan for the day.
Yeah, Sixers fan for literally.
He's a Sixers fan. He likes the Sixers. He just won't admit.
I like the Sixers, but I still like the Celtics more. Because
that's fine.
It's like the Sixers are like the little brother. Like it's just like, aw, you guys had something. Good for you. Good for you.
But before you go any further, I do want to say, as somebody who is a Philadelphia fan and has been best friends with you and Lewis, who are New York fans for 4 years, the fact that you guys showed up to Xfinity Live with me in Sixers gear, chanting, trust the process and cheering for the Sixers, that melted my heart.
Because I honestly want them to win games.
That was great.
I want them to stop having a 12-win season. Like that's
yeah, you and me both.
But here's the thing that I want to say about the draft lottery. I mean, it's we could all say it now. The Celtics got 1. It's probably going to either Chicago or Indiana. But right now they have 1. The Lakers have 2, which could also go to Indiana, or they could actually make that pick. And then the Sixers ended up getting 3. And for all the chanting that they did that entire night, we want the pick to swap and we want all this stuff to happen.
Pick swap.
Honest, did the pick swap get you any better than it was before? You know what I mean?
Because here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing, because when I turned to you when they showed that they got the 3rd pick, there was that disappointment. But I didn't realize that there are more ramifications out of this. Because the Lakers pick didn't convey for the Sixers this year, it's unprotected next year, totally unprotected. Right. So if somehow the Lakers bomb, which unless they get Paul George and have Lonzo Ball, if they can pull that off, they're probably going to be a top 10 team again in terms of the lottery. So the Sixers could have another top 10 pick. And it's also unprotected in 2019. So yeah, I mean, as disappointed as we all were there that they didn't get 1 and 4 or 2 and 4 or whatever, they still have those Lakers picks. They still have a top 3 pick where they can get a great player. And, you still have Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons presumably coming back healthy. So, yeah, I was disappointed that they couldn't get 2 top 5 picks, but you still have that 3rd pick, like I said. And like I said, I mean, unless the Lakers get Paul George and pair him up with Lonzo Ball and a couple of free agents, they're probably going to be a top 10 team again. So to have that unprotected pick from the Lakers next year too, I mean, that's kind of gravy on top, if you ask me.
Well, here's the thing. Like, this draft class is extremely deep, but in the structure of it, it reminds me of the Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker draft class. There's 2 guys at the top in Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball that kind of everybody wants. They're the top 2 guys.
Well, I don't know if everybody wants Lonzo Ball.
No, but I'm saying talent-wise. If LeVar didn't come with him, everybody wants Lonzo Ball's talent.
Yeah, that I'll agree with.
Everyone wants them talent-wise. And then there's kind of this drop-off of and then there's everybody else. So they were talking about it actually at Xfinity Live while we were there, of the guys who are like 3 through 7. And at the third, the Sixers may not have the collateral of the number 1 pick that Boston does, but they can get Jason Tatum, they can get De'Aaron Fox, they can get Malik Monk. Like, there's so many good players that they can get, and everyone was like so upset. And I was like, this is the best thing that's going to happen to the Sixers anyway. Like you said, this is the fact that you guys didn't. You guys actually get more Lakers picks now that it didn't convey, and they're unprotected Lakers picks.
And the Kings pick. I totally forgot to mention the Kings pick too in 2019.
Right, and the Kings pick in 2019. Plus, if the pick didn't swap, which it ended up doing, you had them next year too. So you would, if the pick didn't swap, the Sixers end up with 5. You have both the Kings and the Lakers picks, who are both unprotected. Though, like, I wanted to go up to Spike during the thing, and like as he was chanting pick swap, I was like, no, let's just let's just get whoever we are.
Best case scenario, you did want 1 and 4 because, like you said, this draft class is so deep, and the Sixers could walk away with 2 starters with the core that they have.
It's the Sixers. They're not going to play anyway. We won't see them for 2 years.
It's 3 and what? 6?
No, it's just 3. They have 3.
They just have 3.
Yeah, we just have 3. Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, the best choice for Philly wouldn't be Tatum, wouldn't be De'Aaron Fox. In my opinion, it would be Josh Jackson.
Right, but all those guys are still there, and they're going to be there at 3, and they're going to be there at 5. And if you had 5, you could still get Josh Jackson. And yes, you definitely could. Every other team is looking at the
It depends who's picking at 3. It would depend who's picking at 3, though.
But you've gone through so much in Philadelphia. Do you want it, especially with all the other teams, do you want to take a chance of not taking Jackson at 3 and then you get up to 5 or 6 and he's not there?
Even if you miss Jackson, like Tatum isn't a bad thing because it's the guy who can play the 2 and the 3.
Exactly. I mean, it's like you said.
Offense. So it's just you would have had 2 picks next year. You definitely would have sucked next year too. So that's 3 lotto picks. And then you have the 5th pick, which is never a bad thing because you look at some of the guys who have gone with the 5th pick, some of the more productive guys. You know?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like you said, the Sixers at 3, I think the more I think about it, they're in a fantastic position. I think they're in the best position because obviously Boston's probably going to trade the pick. I mean, we can talk about that in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Who do they need?
And then, LA is probably going to take Lonzo. I would assume that they would trade players and picks later on to get Paul George to pair him.
Just write it down now that Clarkson and Russell are in Indiana.
Are gone.
They're in Indiana.
And possibly Brandon Ingram. I have thought that they might throw him in too to get Paul George.
Because Brandon Ingram will play the 2, and with Clarkson gone, you need someone to play the 2.
Put him at the 3 in Indiana.
No, I'm saying for the Lakers' sake, if you have a guy who can play the 2 and the 3, plus you just got rid of Clarkson, it goes Ball, Ingram, George, done. And then Randall and whoever the hell you sign as a center.
But
what's Larry Sanders doing?
I mean, like you said, you have Malik Monk on the board, you have Jason Tatum on the board, you have Josh Jackson on the board, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, the Sixers could walk away not only with a position.
For all the curse words that Sixers fans said that night, like, they're probably in the best spot because they were just like, God damn it, now we have to do this again next year? Oh, that's so terrible. We have to get drunk and watch more lottery picks. Like,
no, they're in a good.
I know Brett Brown is injuring them in quotations somehow, and they won't be making their appearance.
No, they're in a good position. I mean, you can walk away with a player, not only a player of need, but a high impact player as well. And look, like I said, hoping Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons do come back healthy. You put Simmons as the point guard, like all reports indicate Brett Brown wants to do. You get a Josh Jackson or Malik Monk that can pair up with Sarge and Embiid. I mean, maybe you're talking about a team if they go out and sign a couple free agents and have 4 second-round picks that they could put, if they go out and draft a couple of shooters, maybe they could push for the 7 or 8 seed in the East. But, I mean, they didn't get 1 and 4. They didn't get 2 and 4, 2 and 5, whatever. But the Sixers are in a very, very good position right now. There's no reason to be upset or disappointed about it anymore.
Absolutely. 3 like we've been mentioning, yeah, you're gonna miss out on Fultz and Ball unless some act of God comes down and Magic Johnson doesn't want to
And
draft
that
LeVar.
act of God is called LeVar Ball.
Yes.
Listen, I don't want LeVar Ball, so here, have Lonzo.
I think if whoever doesn't take Lonzo, whoever's going to pass on Lonzo, is going to get a nice tweet from Mr. LeVar saying, sorry, you're not a big baller.
I hope it's not
And
anyone
I
I
would be
care
fine
about
with
because
that.
I'll walk right up to LeVar Ball and sock him in the mouth.
Can you whiten his teeth first?
No. No, I
You're
can't.
going to leave him with the yellows?
Listen, I know I don't have the whitest teeth either, so I'm not going to offend a man for doing what I can't even do. So we'll move on from the draft lottery, and we'll leave that for more weeks to come as we lead up to the actual NBA draft. So we'll move on to the NHL playoffs and what their update is. Basically, they're also in a situation where we kind of know who's playing in those games. It's going to be Nashville. It's going to be Ottawa. By all intents and purposes, I've just been watching the past two games, and when Ottawa is at home, the Penguins got smacked. It wasn't even.
Absolutely.
It was awful. It was actually painful to watch. It was like watching a war movie when they start lobbing off heads. Like it was just.
They scored.
It was
the
awful.
Senators scored 3 goals in 2 minutes and 18
Yeah,
seconds.
no, it was real bad.
Midway through the first period.
It was really, really bad for them, and I feel bad for whoever has to deal with that going into the coming weeks, and saying, "Hey, so how do we stop this?"
But I think if the way you look at it is right, if it is the Sens out of the East and the Preds out of the West, that's the best series. Not only like
It is the best series
you look
we've
back
had
to
in years.
it is
Absolute
but
best.
You look at a situation like basketball, where you're getting Cleveland and Golden State, like we mentioned before. If you watch Game 1 and LeBron goes out there and chalks up 15 air balls, you know Golden State's winning it. You could turn it back on in a week and watch him raise the trophy. But with this, if it is Ottawa, and that's my pick right now based off last night, but it is Pittsburgh. You can never count out the Penguins until they're out. But I can't pick. Even though Nashville's on the top of the West right now, they swept Chicago. They are playing great in these 3 games so far against Anaheim. They played great against St. Louis in their previous series.
Yeah.
The momentum of that they would come into the cup with is amazing. And if Ottawa, like Lewis mentioned last week, and I just listened to your podcast from last week today, so it's all fresh in my brain.
Oh, good.
Lewis
All of our
said
screw ups.
Lewis mentioned last week that when Ottawa beat the Rangers, and as a Rangers fan, I can attest to this, I did not think they had a shot in hell to beat them because, like Lewis mentioned, they play flat. They sneak into the postseason every year. They're in it every season, but they get in, sneak their way by anywhere between 6th to 8th seed. But they play flat. They play like a team that, I'm going to say it, 3 years ago, Edmonton, before Connor McDavid. So you look at a situation where Ottawa's playing great against arguably the best team in the East. And if they can ride that momentum into the Stanley Cup final, I think they'll beat the Preds.
Well, I think
If they can ride the momentum off of beating the Rangers in 6 games, right now if they win out the rest of the series, they're going to beat Pittsburgh in 5. And they had a great series against, who they beat? I can't remember who they beat in the first round now.
Boston.
Boston. And they played great against Boston.
Well,
So you're riding momentum off beating Boston, New York, and Pittsburgh. That's great momentum going
Here's the thing, too, to remember, though. I mean, I said it when we first talked about the NHL playoffs. I mean, Alec, you'll remember my pick was the Blackhawks because you never count out Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane in the playoffs, and they were the 1 seed.
Because Smashville rocks.
I was wrong.
You were wrong.
And that's fine. But the point I'm making is Nashville not only beats the Chicago Blackhawks with Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, they beat the 1 seed, they beat the Blues, and they're about to beat the Ducks. Those are 3 of the top teams in the West.
Those are the 3 top teams in the West.
by even without seeding.
Well, because the Kings suck, but that's the top 3 teams.
Because the Kings blew chunks. But even without the seeding of the playoffs, those are the 3 top teams given who they have, how they score, how they defend, their goaltending. I think it would be an amazing series. Alec, like you said, it would probably be the best series in a long time because, Mike, you make a great point too. Ottawa's coming in with their momentum after blowing out these teams in the East, and Nashville's doing the same in the West. I mean, you can't count out the Penguins because they're the Penguins, and as much as I despise them, you do have to say that they're a team that doesn't quit, and they will fight. I do think that they will steal one more from Ottawa, but Ottawa will ultimately take the series. And Smashville, Alec, you and I were having a blast watching that while we were waiting for the draft lottery when they were playing Anaheim in game 2 or 3. Game 3. So you can't, if we're going to say that the Predators and Senators is going to be the Stanley Cup final, I don't think you can count out Smashville just yet.
Yeah, I think
I refuse to call them Nashville anymore. Smashville needs to be their official name.
It's going to be Smashville, and it's just, both teams have been accused of being playing flat. It's like it's always this thing of like, oh, they're in on flukes because they're not your traditional powerhouses. But I think both teams, they don't play flat at all. I think it always comes down to the fact of better defense. And if you look at it right now, Erik Karlsson is leading that Ottawa team against a good Penguins team in great defense. And that's all it is.
And you know what, too? This was the year Bobby Ryan finally showed up for Ottawa and really put it all together. He's a great player and always has been, but this is the year he finally put offense, defense, scoring, assist all together. And I think that's the one thing that Ottawa missed the last couple of years, and now that's kind of put them over the top. Well, it's also,
if you look at Bobby Ryan's had great seasons before. It's not like this is his first great year in Ottawa. Yeah. But it's just it's a combination of he's having a really good year. Their support play has been fantastic. Craig Anderson has had a great year in the pipes because Erik Karlsson has been a leader defensively. And now they can look forward and say, listen, we can limit the Penguins to 10, 20 shots a period or a game even and say, hey, listen, we're going to stop them in our zone and keep the puck in their zone. And, if Bobby Ryan needs 7 shots to make one go in, we're going to give him 7 shots because if you look at their power play numbers, they've been hanging in the zone. The puck doesn't leave the zone. For some reason, Pittsburgh's defenders can't clear.
You know what? And that's something to say because Pittsburgh for the last 5, 6, 7 years has had one of the best penalty kills in all of hockey, not even just the East. And for Ottawa to just completely manhandle the power play and just continuously put the puck in net, that shows me they can hang around for a long time if they can continue to do that and build around the core that they have.
And this is a team. Yeah. This is a team in the Ottawa Senators that, like I said before, they get into the playoffs every year, but you never, ever think they're going to go past the second round because they'll always run into a Washington or Pittsburgh. Bertz, I know you remember back in 2010 when Philadelphia was good, and the Rangers. They always run into a team like that just Ottawa can come in as hot as they want, and then they smack the wall as soon as they get there. And this year, they hit that wall and they pushed it down. Because like you guys said before, with Brassard, Bobby Ryan's been playing amazing. Brassard's been playing pretty well. Smith's been playing okay. And Erik Karlsson, I go back to as I was podcast listening today while I was cleaning the pool.
What a weirdo.
Go back to you're by yourself. You got to listen to something.
You know what?
I'll suggest a few to you later.
Well,
I don't know about Alec. Oh, I was going to say I don't know about Alec and Lewis because I know there's not as sentimental as I can be, but that warms my heart.
Today was today was a mix of. I started with the ENC pod of awesomeness to give them a plug.
Very true. Great.
And then I finished with last week's Feed Me Sports. And
great show. Everyone should watch it.
Exactly. It was a great 2.5 hours of my life. The interview was with Kane. It was a good time.
Which one was better, ENC or Feed Me Sports?
This week I think it was.
If you don't say Edge and Christian, I will speak.
It was Kane this week. How entertaining can that be? We'll get into that in the wrestling discussion. But with the hockey discussion, I listened to Edge made a good point from last week's episode. Shortly after the Senators beat the Rangers, and Alain Vigneault came out with as a Rangers fan, he's gonna be the head coach for the next, probably until I die, because he'll outlive me. He's just a god of a coach. But he came out and not in so many words, he said that Erik Karlsson, compared to Ryan McDonough, as a captain, he walks on water. And they made the point that you put Erik Karlsson on any other team, any of the other teams in the league, he's an elite defenseman. He's one of the top 5, maybe top 10 defensemen.
Have you seen my defense lately? It's pretty much Ivan Provorov, and that's about it.
That's true.
So, yeah, he would be pretty damn elite on the
he's
Flyers.
the best defense of any team you put him on, honestly.
Yeah, he's the best defenseman any roster you put him on. You take a guy like Ryan McDonough, he's I wouldn't say he's an elite defender on the Rangers.
Ryan McDonough's, again, I would say in any team he goes on
He's top 5.
Is the
I think
guy.
he's top 5 in the
I just think Ryan McDonough's not a leader.
5, he's lower than Karlsson.
This year, yeah, but in career stats, McDonough's higher.
In career stats, but Karlsson is more versatile. That's one thing they mentioned. Karlsson is not scared to go up there.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, so you look at a guy, you have players like Karlsson, like Brassard, as much as I miss Derek Brassard, and like Zach Smith and Bobby Ryan, who are scoring goals like no end. They scored 5 goals last night, or 2 nights ago, rather. They scored 5 goals in that game. They were up 5-0 at one point in the game, and they let a sympathy goal in.
They were just like, come on, buddy.
We feel bad for you.
It was like your son at Little League who gets 1 at-bat a game. You just really want to
It's the last kid up in T-ball when they tell everyone to run the bases regardless of where the ball goes. Just keep going.
Keep it.
I've been tagged out 4 times.
You're still going.
We're all going home.
Reruns.
Run hard.
It's like the kid from The Sandlot. Go home. Go home. Home.
Yeah, no, he runs all the way home.
Yeah, they scored 5 goals. They're up 5-0. You play like they chased Fleury. Ooh, a beat.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. The Flyers exposed Marc-Andre Fleury a couple years ago in the playoffs. He's not a playoff goalie.
Absolutely.
Well, no.
And now they go back to Matt Murray.
Hold on.
They made a switch.
As of right now, I just want to say, for all the crap you give Fleury is the record holder for most career playoff shutouts. You know that, right?
Okay. Yeah, I do.
Statistically, he's the greatest playoff goalie in the current generation.
Yeah, but in the last couple of years, he's been stinky. He's been bad, man.
No, that's not true at all.
He has been okay.
Not even close.
The shutouts are one thing. No, he's not.
He's had bad games where he's looked real tough. He's looked awful. But if you look at his last few years, I mean, especially look at last season, his ability to shut down an offense single-handedly without Letang's help, because Letang was hurt, shows. I think he is one of the best goalies in the clutch moment. I'd rather have Marc-Andre Fleury than most goalies I've ever had.
Well, but see, here's the thing, though. Marc-Andre Fleury, you can get the shutout Marc-Andre Fleury, but then it's like in game 1 he shuts the opposing team down, but in game 2 it's like he lets in 6 or 7 goals. Then in game 3 he's back to letting in 1. Game 4 it's like another 5 or 6. I mean, he has shutouts and he has good stats. I won't take that away from him, but he's wildly inconsistent. And I think that's why you saw Matt Murray come in last year and he, stole the thunder, because he was more consistent.
Well, I think it's also
Matt Murray's a guy. Go ahead.
You have to look at his numbers in those games where he lets in 5 goals. I mean, in the game 2 nights ago, he had 37 saves. Yes, he let in 5 goals, but he had 37 saves. If Corey Schneider comes back to me as a Devils fan and says, I had a 37 save night, but we let in 4 goals, I look at the defense and go, what the fuck were you guys doing? 37 saves is a great game, regardless of the scoreline. I mean, you got to.
I won't take that.
I think the Penguins have struggled with the fact of only having one good defenseman for X amount of years, and the problems have come back to Fleury. As in, why can't you make every incredible stop? Why do you only make incredible stops sometimes?
Well, I mean, look here. Take it from a Flyers fan that's had a lot of issues on the blue line. I mean, and where goalies have had to do way more than what's expected. I mean. Yeah, you can't expect Marc-Andre Fleury to go out and make 40 saves out of 40 saves, especially when you only have Chris Letang as your only stable defenseman, because the Penguins usually focus their attention on the scoring, and that's fine. Yeah, but there's just so many games, and I think back in 2011 the Flyers exposed it where you can get in his head and he can become inconsistent. I mean, yeah, there's times where he can be fantastic. And look, like I said, speaking as a Flyers fan, when your defense isn't really helping you out, there's only so much you can do as a goalie. I mean, they're few and far between. There are goalies that can stand on their head for 3-4 games in a row.
Yeah.
But,
oh, yeah.
I just think there are some games, though, with Fleury that I've seen where he could have kept them in the game, albeit they don't have the greatest defense, but sometimes he can get inconsistent.
He gets rattled, but I mean, you want to talk about...
He gets rattled very easily. I think that's really
if
what I want to say.
If you want to talk about rattled, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a motherfucker who gets rattled.
Yeah,
I mean, two times he's lost a Super
Who are you,
Bowl.
man?
He's been rattled. He's been rattled. I mean, but he is the GOAT. He's probably the greatest quarterback I've ever seen play. But yeah, he gets rattled. I mean, I'm not saying Marc-Andre Fleury is the greatest goalie, but I'm just saying that Marc-Andre Fleury, if you take him off the Penguins and put him in the Oilers colors, we're looking at not Nashville going into out of the Western Conference Finals. I think if you have any goalie that's not Cam Talbot, I think they win that series.
But I'll throw this one at you. Would you say that if you put Chicago's got a really good defense. If you put Steve Mason in Chicago, would he become top
absolutely.
5 goalie?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. If you face 12 shots a game, it's real easy to make 12 saves. It's real easy.
All right, I'll give you that.
It's simple.
True.
I mean, if you take I'm not to toot my own horn here, but you take think of an elite goalie like Pekka Rinne or Ben Bishop or any of those guys, and you put them behind the Devils' defense, they are going to become the most trash goalie I have ever seen in my entire life, and I will publicly boo them in the streets of Newark. Because it doesn't help. If you make 40 saves but face 57 shots, you lose games. And that's the end of the line.
No, I don't disagree with that. That's a good point. I mean,
I think
yeah. I just hate the Penguins.
Yeah, no, Marc-Andre Fleury is a good goalie with an atrocious defense and has been having to deal with so much crap for so long. And I feel bad for him. And I think the reason why everyone goes, oh, he's terrible, is because you have these games where like Vokoun a few years ago and Matt Murray last year came in and were fresh and were just like, yeah, I can make amazing saves. And then they were tired the next day and you saw them lose a game. But everyone was like, well, Fleury's worse. Don't worry about it. Like, I think it comes down to Marc-Andre Fleury has the worst reputation as a goaltender in the playoffs.
Well, I think, and not to beat a dead horse, but I think it's really because you can rattle him so easily.
Oh, yeah.
And if you break through the Penguins defense and you put shots on net, yeah, you will rattle him and he's done. There are some goalies, though, that I will say, a couple years ago, Johnny Quick and Lundqvist, who you could keep putting shots on them, but you weren't getting by.
Those
it was
are
almost
legendary
impossible.
goalies. Marc-Andre Fleury's number will never go up in the rafters. I'm not saying that. It'll never be up there. Number 29 will be worn again by somebody else. But for the career he has had, I give him crazy props because I don't care what goalie you are. Yeah, we can talk about fluke players who have won championships, but to win as many as he has, there's got to be some credit to that and say, he is a good goalie.
That still didn't stop the Pens, however, from a game. Well, they were originally going to start Matt Murray, if I'm not mistaken, in the first game against Columbus.
Right.
And then did he go down with an injury, or did he just get really beat up in that first game?
He got exposed. And then they put in Fleury.
They pull him out.
Fleury shuts it down.
Going back to, not being able to count out Pittsburgh. My point on that, not being able to count the Pens out, is as much as I hate the guy, I hate Sidney Crosby. He's the best hockey player in the world.
Ovechkin said it correctly. He's like, listen, you can hate him all you want, but he's the best at what he does, and that's it. That's it.
He is. You know what? This is a Philadelphia fan. Whenever Sidney Crosby touches the puck, the guy just hears the asshole chant. I'll admit. I mean, I'm sitting there at Flyers games, and I'm just like, yeah. I mean, we all think he's a baby
plays in any other jersey,
bitch.
and you think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Absolutely, but he plays with Pittsburgh, who wins.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
that's
don't
even
take. If Sidney Crosby showed up in orange and black and didn't take fights, would be no. You shouldn't fight him. He's too good to fight. Wayne Simmons can fight for him.
No. I'm not going to disagree if he was a Flyer.
If he's a Flyer,
obviously
you have his jersey in a frame somewhere.
Absolutely, but I mean,
he's one of those players where you love to hate him. No. The day he comes to your team, it's like
Every time Lewis
down.
goes, Bryce Harper sucks. I'm like, if he played in Queens, you would cry when he walked to the earth next to you.
You can't talk about Bryce Harper as a Yankees fan because you're gonna get him when this extension's
And
up.
guess what? I don't yell at
and-
him. I don't say that Bryce Harper's a shitty player or that he's a terrible person.
Just-
I just go, Bryce Harper's
just-
good. Like, that's it.
No,
Just
I
do
mean,
me a
my-
favor. Make sure Matt Harvey shows up to game day when you get him.
That's fine. Matt Harvey can pitch all he wants. I still got Aaron Judge. I'm not worried at all.
my
All
point
rise,
was,
Mikey.
I mean,
All rise.
we can all hate Crosby, but yeah, he is a damn
He's the
good
best
player.
in the world.
Yes.
And that's why you can't count out.
No.
Pittsburgh.
CM Punk is the best in the world. Okay, how dare
Sidney
you
Crosby's
take
the
trademark
best in the world
infringement?
at what he does.
That's Chris Jericho.
That's Chris Jericho. Now you would trademark infringed again.
God damn it, Mike. Well, okay.
Gimmick infringement.
Before we get wrapped up in the NHL, we'll move on to the NFL with two veteran free agency signings. Jason McCourty first going to the Browns. Terrific signing. I mean, that gives
I love it.
Gilbert.
Yeah,
And
I love
that.
anything
Gilbert.
above average for the Browns is good.
Yeah, no, but like you give Hayden help. He's not alone anymore. It gives Gilbert help. He's not alone anymore. I mean,
Well, Gilbert's gone.
well, yeah, Gilbert's gone, but I mean, I forget who is it was the two.
Jamar Taylor.
Yeah, Jamar Taylor gets help. Whenever you give that secondary help, it's going to be great. And now that you added
Well,
Peppers,
I think it goes
Peppers gets
to-
even better.
Yeah, I think.
So I think
Yeah,
always
but I
wins.
think what it really does, why I really like it at least, was this is a young defense that needed somebody to be like the leader.
and Jason McCourty
I mean, look,
is
Miles
your leader.
Garrett. Yeah, Jason McCourty is your leader now. I mean, Miles Garrett, Jamie Collins. I mean, Jamie Collins can bring a lot of experience from New England over. Miles Garrett's still not a locker room presence enough that he can be a leader. I
Too
mean,
busy
hey,
watching
that
his
could
anime
change.
cartoons.
Absolutely.
Great
But
shows, though. By the way, He's great. Taste.
Jason McCourty brings that veteran leadership that the Browns needed on defense. So
I don't disagree.
I have nothing bad about to say.
Good for Jason
It
McCourty.
reminds me of a number of years ago where it was T.J. Ward, Dante Whitner, Joe Hayden, and Justin Gilbert there, and you had Ward, Hayden, who was only in his second or third year at the time, maybe fourth year, and Gilbert, who were all young prospects. And then you brought in Dante Whitner, who was an established veteran guy, known to be a good locker room presence in San Fran. You brought him in, and it showed, and it really matured out Joe Hayden.
Yeah, that was the season where they
And-
won like 5 games in a row, and everyone said, "Holy crap, the Browns might make it." Then they dropped 11 games.
and that was all they won that season.
Right, but you think about it, you're right. Like they did when they had a veteran presence in that locker room, they did really, really well. And I think McCourty is going to be the Whitner, and hopefully
Yeah.
they can
Well,
win. at
and
least
they
6
needed
games
secondary
this year.
help. So yeah, they needed secondary help. So that kind of checks a
You
mark
take
off the
that
box.
back. Jabril
Because-
Peppers can cover an entire defense with his left foot if he feels like it.
Yeah, Jabril
And then
Peppers
throw
is going to be
touchdowns.
all over
Yeah,
the
and
field.
then just go catch seven touchdowns and then an interception for a touchdown. He's a god.
Will Jason? Have you guys seen anything? Will Jason McCourty be playing safety or will he be playing corner?
Corner.
I
most
think he's
likely
taking
corner.
2. Yeah,
He's
he's
going to
probably going
corner.
to take the 2 opposite Hayden.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good personnel. Putting the leadership aside, personnel-wise, it's a great move for Cleveland. Because, like we said, now we're going with Joe Hayden, who is still as much as he's decreased in the last 3 years, one of the top 5 corners in the league. Maybe not top 5, maybe top 10, but he's at least top.
I think he's at least still
I
top
think when
10.
he gets his help
top
this year,
10.
he's finally going to be back in that top 5 conversation.
Yeah. So now you're putting him, Jason McCourty, who he's not in that top 10, but he's a damn serviceable corner. And because, you spend how many years of your career covering T.Y. Hilton twice a year?
Andre Johnson,
Andre
back when he
Johnson,
was with Houston.
DeAndre
Yeah.
Hopkins.
Uh,
I mean,
DeAndre Hopkins.
Allen Robinson. Yeah, I mean he's covered some high prolific receivers.
Yeah, you're covering these guys.
And
You- you
not
used-
not to cut you off, but now he's got to play Antonio Brown twice a year and AJ Green twice a year.
Exactly. He's covered much better. I think, a monkey would agree with the fact that AB and Green are better than anything he faced over there in South.
I don't, give the Texans a quarterback, and maybe DeAndre Hopkins gets in that conversation.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think he already is.
We'll see how Watson
That's-
plays. I think, you have a situation where you're putting two good corners. For the first time in a while, you could say Cleveland has good place position here. And you put in Jabril back of a safety who, with his diluted P, really needs a veteran presence in that locker room. He needs somebody to help him out.
It was diluted with Wendy's high C, okay? He had a Baconator beforehand, and it was all messed up.
Diluted is diluted. Like you guys mentioned last week, the NFL is against anything drug-related, but you punch somebody in the face and you'll make guaranteed money.
It was the blood of his enemies.
Well, I mean...
They're not gladiators, remember?
They're close enough.
I mean, yeah, to kind of go off Mike's point, I mean, you put somebody as dynamic as Jabril back there with the leadership that they have with Hayden and McCourty. I mean, I don't think they're going to be elite, but the Browns' defense is going to be much more respectable. I think we could all agree on that.
They'll be 8-8.
They'll be working their way back. So the next one,
making the way downtown,
walking fast. The next
face fast.
No, we're not going to continue.
Mike adds just a different dynamic to this show.
It's another jokester, and I appreciate it.
Are we going to become a one-man band now?
No, Lewis will cry. LeGarrette Blount going to the Eagles. I mean, we'll get to Birch last because I want to hear his opinion on the signing because you're going to have a slightly more biased opinion than the two of us are going to have.
You might be surprised.
I'm not yes or no to the signing. I'm in the middle because I truly have no idea what he can bring to that offense because I have this good feeling of he's a guy that can take pressure off Carson Wentz and that could carry a workload when Carson isn't, doing so hot and he's facing a good secondary and he needs someone to be able to draw those safeties in so he can open up the field. But the last time that the Eagles brought in a running back off of free agency that had success somewhere else, it didn't go very well.
Okay, timeout. Blame Chip. Don't blame the running back.
I'm not saying it's the running back's fault. I'm saying it's
Chip and Lewis are the same school.
It's the same. It's like a it's a system that the Eagles had in place, and like we said at the draft lottery party, in the West Coast, you really don't need a running back. You know what I mean? You don't need. Yeah. It's not a necessity. So the signing of Blount, I don't hate it, but I don't love it either because again, it wasn't a necessity. But it is something that you guys kind of needed because he is a guy who can be the forefront until those younger guys are ready to take that spot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think it was a low price tag, so I mean, it's a
low price tag, and you're getting a guy with playoff championship experience. Right. I believe he's a 2-time champion. He's been to the play. You're with the Patriots, like a rule. You have to play in the playoffs.
It's actually in your contract.
You will. But Blount, he brings a different dynamic than what Ryan Matthews brings. Ryan Matthews brings a speed
3 down back.
brings a speed receiving back, which I think is great for Carson because looking at the Eagles' offensive offseason, it's extremely built around
helping Carson Wentz.
Let's make it easy for Carson.
Yeah.
And you signed Jeffrey for the franchise tag. You got
Torrey Smith.
Torrey Smith is the other receiver they picked up. And now you have LeGarrette Blount, who LeGarrette Blount is a guy where you're now in a situation where Carson Wentz doesn't have to go out there and do his best Russell Wilson impression and throw an interception within the 5-yard line.
LeGarrette Blount can also throw a block or two, so that's you're getting essentially another lineman because he's a big boy.
Yeah. You get another mobile lineman behind you, and you're getting a guy who can go in there, put his head down, and score points. But you also remember the last time LeGarrette Blount played in the state of Pennsylvania, he was on ship back to New England real quick.
Oh yeah, no, he. But it's a good signing for them, and it's also a dangerous signing for them because if he's used correctly. He's great. It's a great signing. They signed him for pretty much no money for a player of his stature. And if he's only used on running downs or whatever they want to use him for, or a blocking situation, fantastic. But if in the system, if Doug uses him wrong and I have to watch another established running back fall in the Eagles system, not to his own fault, I'll be very upset with it, and it won't be a good signing. So it just depends on what Doug does, honestly. I'll wait to see what they do game one.
And if all else fails, you still have Wendell Small.
You have Wendell Tiny Penis, and it'll be just fine.
Wendell Tiny Penis.
So, Birds, what do you think about the LeGarrette Blount signing? We'll let you open up the forum here to scream to the masses.
No, I mean, hey, look, you both bring up a lot of really good points. When I look at it, one of the things that kind of screwed the Eagles last year was the fact that Ryan Matthews wasn't healthy, and Darren Sproles is not a guy that can carry the ball 15, 20 times a game. He's really your elusive back that you can use in the pass game. Maybe you give him a couple draw plays, because he's just so fast and elusive. And looking at this team going into this year, running back was a big need. And yeah, they drafted Donnell Pumphrey, but if you look at his build, you look at his measurables, he's Darren Sproles 2.0. He's 5'9", same build, same.
It's a great height to be okay. It's a great height.
No, it's nothing against the height. It's just the fact that he is Darren Sproles. I mean, he's just a smaller back. And, again, is Donnell Pumphrey a guy you want to give the ball to on goal line situations in 3rd and 2s? No, probably not. And the other thing to remember too is they did sign an undrafted free agent Wisconsin running back Corey Clement, who I know they're very high on, but that's a guy that you probably could practice squad for a year and somebody that could watch somebody like LeGarrette Blount. And the reason why I like it is, look, teams are probably going to be expecting the Eagles to throw a little bit more now that they have more established receivers. So if you can take the pressure off of Carson Wentz 12 to 20 times a game and give it to a guy who's 6 foot, 250 pounds, especially on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, goal line situations where you have to chew the clock and, run the clock out in close games, it's a good signing. I mean, yeah, it comes down to, first off, Doug needs to run the fucking ball because that's one thing that he neglected to do last year. And now he actually has a guy who's healthy and can do that for you. So, I'd like to see more attention to the run game. And I think that almost the name itself, LeGarrette Blount, kind of shows you that they will at least try to run the ball a little bit more. But the one thing that I'm excited for about the Blount signing is I think I would like to see them at least try to have a situation where you have Darren Sproles or Pumphrey on the field with Blount. And, maybe you hand it off to Blount, maybe you dish it off to Sproles or Pumphrey on a shovel pass or something, but create a little chaos in the field. I mean, you have Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, Ertz. Let's see them get a little creative in the backfield too. But bottom line, look, it's a move I really like because when you're developing a young quarterback, you need a stable and consistent run game, and LeGarrette Blount brings that to you. So, I mean, you can't argue with a guy who's 6 foot 250 and can just power through between the guards.
You can argue when he doesn't touch the ball enough.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but see, that's what it really comes down to. Is last year, I mean, Ryan Matthews isn't the most preserved back, I guess, in terms of health, but he had a couple of moments last year where he broke off a lot of runs, and you're sitting there, you're watching the game, and then they just start to throw, and you're like, well, first off, these receivers suck. And you're throwing it to them 20, 30 times a game where you actually have a decent running back who can carry the ball at least 10 to 15 times a game, and you neglect to run the ball. So, look, this year you at least have 2 veteran receivers who can come in, and I think we'll have productive seasons. And you have a running back that can, chew the clock, power run. So, yeah, you bring up a good point. It's all about Doug needs to just run the ball.
Yeah, and if he does it right, it works. If he does it wrong, he's going to get a lot of crap thrown his way.
And be prepared because I will. One of the things.
Don't take your poop and physically throw it though, because listen, I will never let you hear the end of it if you start flinging feces.
Fling the feces.
Yeah, flinging some fecal matter out of this place.
Yeah, it's like we said. You don't need a Le'Veon Bell or a David Johnson in the West Coast offense. I mean, while that would be nice, and I would never ever tell the Eagles not to go after one of them if they were available. It's a situation where you have a power back and you have 2 elusive backs that can be used in passing down. So they have a lot of options in the backfield, which I think really kind of excites people about what they can do in the West Coast offense.
Moving on from unscripted sports, to the very scripted world of WWE. So I want to move on to the next thing, and I want to bring up this point from Raw this week. There were two things in Raw that really shook me up and got me real upset, almost to the point where I wanted to jump through my TV and punch Kurt Angle in the head in that dome piece. So Monday night, Alexa Bliss comes out in front of a New Jersey crowd that is booing the crap out of her. And then she continues to speak about how disgusting Newark, New Jersey is, and she's not wrong. Because Newark is gross, I'll be honest. It's a terrible place to be. And then she goes on to say that all of New Jersey is disgusting, and then at that point, she lost my faith, and I wanted to kill her real bad. But Bayley comes out and says, I'm going to take your title. I'm going to make you regret what you did to me. You embarrassed me in front of my family. I'm going to take you down. And then Alexa repeated with, next pay-per-view is Extreme Rules. You've never gone extreme in your entire life. I won my first title by putting Becky Lynch through a table. I'm better at being more extreme than you. You only ask for just a wrestling match. You've never won in an extreme situation. You've never even used a weapon because you're so babyface. Then Alexa Bliss punches Bayley in the head. She goes and gets a kendo stick and proceeds to crack Bayley across the spine. So in this moment, Kurt Angle goes to see Bayley and says, you know what, we're going to make your match just a pure wrestling match, no weapons, it'll be fine. Bayley says, no, I am ready to get extreme. And at this point, I am crying on my couch because I'm so excited to see, I believe it would be the first women's no DQ Extreme Rules match for a title, where there were no...
Other than the tables match, yes. And the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. But it's going to be...
Well, I'm trying to think if Lita had one.
Match without bikinis. You know what I mean? This will be the...
Well,
okay, that's fair then.
The I Quit match between Beth Phoenix and Melina.
Right. But this is the first Extreme Rules match where I would assume they would have them beat the snot out of each other.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I'm really excited. And especially it's the first match in this new era of women's wrestling that we're going into. It's the post-Diva era. And I'm excited about that. So Kurt Angle decides to walk in and say, we're going to do a kendo stick on a pole match instead of an Extreme Rules match. And that got me upset, and I'll ask you guys if it does the same for you, because you took the ability for them to use bats, sledgehammers, stairs, ladders, tables, the announce table, whatever it is, you know what I mean, and you boiled it all down to one kendo stick on a pole that I have to... This is a Raw gimmick match that I'm watching on a pay-per-view now. And
that's absolutely
it had the potential to be one of my favorite women's matches of all time, right next to that Sasha Banks-Bayley Iron Woman match from NXT. And you just took it, you put it right under your ass, you shit all over it, and then you handed it to me and said, bone apple teeth. And it got me upset.
Definitely... I think they really could have. They could have made it one of the most memorable matches, and at least, look, Bayley. I always call Bayley the Cena of the women's division. That's kind of what she is now. That's just her character, and I love it. Most people are just like, okay, it's cute. Move on. But I would have loved to have seen her and Alexa Bliss just beat the hell out of each other with tables, with ladders.
It would also elevate her character.
That's a full Extreme Rules match.
Yeah,
it would elevate her character. She's more than just a babyface at that point.
Yeah, but gone are the days where you had Lita jumping off of the steel cage, where you had Beth, diving on tables and stuff. Bring that excitement back, especially with two women that are very, very good wrestlers. Let's see some more of the action. Let's see them really dig down and just start going after each other. Especially because, Bliss took the title from Bayley when she was in her hometown and embarrassed her in front of her family and, her hometown crowd. Let's see her dig down and really go after Alexa. To me, them doing this is almost like a slap in the face to both of them. They don't trust them to put on a good match, or they're just afraid that, if Bayley or Alexa go through a table, that they're going to be shelved for a while and they're going to kind of be screwed with the main event picture with the women. But like I said, gone are the days where you had Lita jumping off steel cages and stuff like that. Let's see that come back with the women.
Absolutely. I think you're in a situation where Bailey and Alexa Bliss are your best women on Raw. Unless Lewis was here, then he's going to tell you that they're not like most girls.
Well, no, there's still Sasha, but we'll get to her.
There's still Sasha, but, with the injuries, who knows with her. But right now, they're your best two women on Raw. And maybe SmackDown's doing some good things over there with the welcoming committee and Charlotte to the keen eye, now turning babyface. But you put these two women who are your best, let's just for the sake of argument, they're your best women in the company, and you put them in the equivalent to a Russian chain match between John Cena and Rusev, where
painful.
It was painful to watch because it wasn't a match. It was, here, I'll put this on my wrist, you put this on your wrist, and it's a race to see who could touch all four corners first.
Stop. I don't even want to remember that.
That was a rough match. That was a rough match to watch.
They don't want to remember it. But you look at it, it's a situation where that's what we've now gotten in Extreme Rules. There are these gimmick pay-per-views, and the fact of the matter is, this is the only one that's bad.
If I can
there's a lot
you
that's
real
bad.
quick,
Hell in a Cell makes me want to hurt myself multiple times a day.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I enjoy Hell in a Cell match, though.
I enjoy Hell in a
I can
Cell match,
interrupt
but a whole pay-per-view full of them is just too gimmicky for me.
Mm.
Yeah, if I can interrupt real quick. Hold on. Hell in a Cell, Sasha and Charlotte back in October was a humdinger of a match.
That's a great match. But think about it. For every great Hell in a Cell match, there's a Randy Orton whispering sweet nothings into John Cena's ear as he holds him in a headlock. So,
I'll debate anyone on it, is because of what happened with Daniel Bryan a couple of years ago. I think that was the match, I think, that kind of signaled the concussion and the neck issues with the match he had with Kane. I think it was in 2014. And I think ever since then, they've just become really, really, really cautious with how they go about this.
I agree with that.
Extreme, because it's not Kane's fault. It just sometimes shit happens, but I think WWE has now gotten so concerned that they want to just tone it back.
Yeah, I think, let me ask you guys, going off Birch's point, because I agree with that. I agree with Extreme Rules is very toned back, because I look back to, I believe it was 2009, John Cena versus John Bradshaw Layfield in a First Blood match.
Yes.
And John Cena busted him open.
I was hoping you were going to go with that.
Broke out the Word Life chain and busted a cap over his head. Do you guys agree? Extreme Rules came from, I believe it was 05-06 or 06-07, where they did back-to-back years of One Night Stand. And then One Night Stand became its own pay-per-view, and then now it's Extreme Rules. Do you think this now segues with the dying version of Extreme Rules, not dying, the PG version of Extreme Rules? Do you think you replace it for a new pay-per-view?
Yeah, absolutely. There's the pay-per-views that I'm most excited to see now in the current era of WWE wrestling is not the gimmick ones. I don't get excited for Hell in a Cell anymore. I don't get excited for...
Yeah.
Right, because I know exactly what I'm getting, and that's the worst part. You know what I mean?
To be honest with you,
to say like, oh God, we're gonna have a pay-per-view called Backlash, and Backlash isn't the name of a match, so I don't know what kind of matches I'm getting. I can get a Hell in a Cell match, I can get a submission match,
a House of Horrors match.
I can get anything because you just put this ambiguous name on it. It's like the old pay-per-view. I know it was a terrible pay-per-view back in the day, but it was called Bragging Rights. What does bragging rights
I remember
mean?
that. Oh God.
Capital punishment.
Right. Yeah. There were terrible pay-per-views, but the name itself is fine because it doesn't give away what I'm seeing. You know what I mean?
To be honest with you, the only ones I ever really get excited for is the Rumble, because there's always a couple of surprise entrants and maybe even a legend shows up. Right, and I love Money in the Bank. I love Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank, because it's not all about, because it's not 7 Money in the Bank matches. There's
one.
And,
okay.
and Survivor Series, because there's one Survivor Series match, and then the
rest
are normal.
Let me ask you guys on that. What's your opinion? Just a quick sidebar. What's your opinion of Money in the Bank this year? Two opinions here I'm looking for. What's your opinion of Money in the Bank now being SmackDown exclusive, which I think makes sense with the WWE Championship now being on SmackDown? And 2, the all but likely maybe I'd say 120% possibility of Orton and Ruru main eventing that show for the belt. What's your opinion on those two?
I like the fact that Rusev is getting his main event push. I think I dig it. I think he deserves
I'm on board with
it.
that. Yep.
I think it was stripped away from him because of the stupid wedding thing. Because Vince can't take happiness that's not his own.
Well, it's not that Vince can't take happiness. It's the fact that if any other news outlet breaks that they're engaged or getting married, he gets upset because he wasn't the first to do it.
Right, but I don't like him doing that. And
stubborn
he punished
son of a bitch.
And he's not letting. Well, he didn't let Rusev in the main event, and now he has to. And I like that. And I also like the fact that Lana's going to be on her own, and it's just going to be Rusev, and it's going to be Rusev being a destroyer again, like he was when he first came up, and that excites me. And then also, I don't like that it's SmackDown. I don't like it's SmackDown specific. The way I would have done it was I would have kept it both. I would have kept it for both shows, and I would have sent. It's a traditional 6-man climb to see who gets that contract. I would have sent 3 men from Raw and 3 men from SmackDown, and whoever gets the case takes it to their own respective show.
We look at a situation like that, and I remember before I found out that it was SmackDown exclusive, I made the point to Lewis, is that you could have a situation, let's say post-Superstar Shakeup, Bray Wyatt goes up there, grabs the briefcase representing Raw. Who's to say he doesn't pop up on your next episode of SmackDown Live and cash it in,
right,
and takes the big boy title over to Raw?
Like it used to be. No, but that's what it used to be. It could be whoever won it could show up on either show, or would just challenge their own champion. There was an element of surprise to it.
You're missing the opportunity where you have Brock Lesnar, and I don't know about you guys.
We're not seeing him till SummerSlam. It's just not.
Well, apparently we're supposed to make Great Balls of Fire.
We are seeing a Great Balls of Fire, but we are also
believe it when I see
SummerSlam.
Yeah, but you look at a situation where, I don't know about you guys, I forgot what the Universal title looks like, half because it's ugly and half because Brock Lesnar has it.
It's 75% Brock Lesnar. I hate when he has titles because I don't see them.
Yeah, but you look at a situation where you could have gave, even if you did a SmackDown Money in the Bank and a Raw Money in the Bank, you look at somebody, just for the sake of argument, Samoa Joe goes up there, grabs the briefcase, Mr. Money in the Bank, for Raw, gets the big red briefcase. That gives you that dynamic, not on as big of a platform, obviously, but that Seth Rollins WrestleMania 31 dynamic, where you're watching a match thinking nobody's going to beat Brock Lesnar. We're going to have this crap, 3 matches a year for the belt, and then Seth Rollins pops up and wins the title. You give a Raw guy the Money in the Bank contract and tell them you can only cash this in on Raw. That's the dynamic you need when Brock Lesnar's champion.
Right, and it's you take away so much because the Money in the Bank has given the potential to build a career. You look at guys like Cody Rhodes when he was at his hottest, Money in the Bank. You want to talk about Ziggy at his hottest, Mr. Money in the Bank. Seth Rollins when he was starting to garner so much attention, Mr. Money in the Bank. I mean, Sheamus.
Rob Van Dam.
Sheamus was a failure. Rob Van Dam was great. CM Punk, Edge, Dean Ambrose. It built so many guys up to be in the main event, and you're gonna. I mean, I'm happy it's on SmackDown because I like that show better, but you take it away from Raw, and I think it's a real loss for Raw that they don't.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, you're taking it away, and look, we can disagree with it, and I'm pretty sure all 4 of us, including Lewis, do that. Raw steals the bigger superstars, but SmackDown's the bigger show. I mean, we disagree with the fact that Raw should have these high-profile superstars, but that's just Vince McMahon and his love for Monday Night Raw. But I would have loved to have seen them, like you guys said. You have it with Raw and SmackDown, Alec, like you said, 3 guys from Raw, 3 guys from SmackDown. But I just think Money in the Bank, I mean, to a T, it builds these guys up, and it just creates a lot of excitement. I mean, look at WrestleMania 31. I mean, who the hell saw Seth Rollins cashing that in?
I can remember. I had money on it.
I can remember sitting there and thinking, all right, Reigns is going to win or Lesnar's going to retain, whatever. Like, we'll just see what happens on Raw after. And then you hear that music hit and he cashes in, and you're just left there sitting, oh my God, this just happened. Like, I think that's what Money in the Bank
I was too busy punching Lewis and saying you're an idiot.
I mean, that's just what Money in the Bank can do. It just creates all that excitement and can single-handedly in itself build a career. And I think I love SmackDown, but just limiting it to SmackDown, I think takes away the lust and the flavor from Money in the Bank, if you will.
Yeah, and we'll talk about taking away the lust from something, or it actually being any good. Sasha Banks jobs out clean to Alicia Fox, because I can't say it like Noam Dar does.
Alicia Fox.
Yeah, I can't say it like that. She jobs out clean. I mean, this is a clean win. Finisher, 1, 2, 3, everybody go home.
Yeah, you know what? I got a question for the both of you.
That's insane.
I got a question for the both of you because you brought that up before we went live. Do you think that her jobbing is WWE's way of saying? Because I started to think about it a little bit more. Do you think it's their way of saying a heel turn is on its way?
It's definitely a heel turn on its way, and it's definitely that Summer Rae is healthy.
They, in my opinion,
thank you for the latter of the two.
No, and this is my honest opinion.
Well, yeah,
when they were in
I
NXT,
agree.
When they were in NXT, they had Boss Life, and it was Summer Rae teaching Sasha Banks how to succeed. Because when Sasha Banks came in, she was this happy-go-lucky girl who was happy to be here, and Summer Rae created the boss. That became the reason why we all love Sasha Banks. So I think then they've been tweeting it all day today, hashtag BL2017, after she's lost. I think Summer is healthy, and I think that she's coming back to help Sasha become the boss again, and Sasha's going to kick the crap out of whoever that division has at the top.
I think so. I think you're looking at a situation, and even if it's not that, where you bring back Boss Life, I think you're in a situation where you just maybe you do it one more time. As cruel as it sounds,
She'll
it's a
job
Lewis
out
thing
a
to
few
say.
more times so it makes it believable.
Yeah. You do it 1 or 2 more times. Maybe not to Alicia Fox, but maybe to like
Nia
Dana
Jax, Dana Brooke.
Yeah. You just have her get
Mickey
beat
James.
into the canvas. Yeah. You have her get beat into the canvas every week until you forget about her. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see her pop up and let's just for argument's sake, say Alexa Bailey wins the belt back. So
Poor Bailey is just getting beaten down tonight.
She is. But and it looks best for, as Paul Levesque once said, it looks best for business. It's best for business. You're putting the baby face against the heel. And if Bailey wins the belt back at Extreme Rules in a kendo stick on a pole match, there's going to be a kendo stick lying in the middle of the ring because she's not going to keep it in her hand. And then you're going to hear Sasha Banks' music hit, and then Bailey's getting beat with an inch of her life with that kendo stick.
Yeah.
What?
And that's what I mean. It's sad to see Sasha job, but it's exciting to see Sasha become the boss again because I'm
definitely
sick and tired of this friendship crap.
Well, it's funny because we talked about this. We talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. I don't remember if it was Lewis or you, Alec, that posed the question: were they too far gone from this angle of Sasha attacking Bailey? Because we all thought that was what was going to happen at WrestleMania. That whole thing. I mean, they had the dynamic going that Sasha and Bailey were these BFFs, and Charlotte was just this mean person, and they were going to take down Charlotte. But then there was the idea that, Sasha would betray Bailey and attack her and screw her out of a victory. So I think if this is what they're planning now, at least for the summer, then damn it, do it. It would be best for business, as Triple H would love to hear. I mean, I want to see a little bit more of the nitty-gritty matches in the women's, like we talked about a couple minutes ago.
They're on SmackDown. Come on over.
Let's see Sasha go heel and just start. As much as I love the poor little girl, just beat the crap out of Bailey. I mean, it would be good TV. It would be a good angle.
She's 5'10". Like, she's taller than me. Little's a strong word.
Well, I mean, I'm just using it
5 feet
because
of fury.
she's getting a
little
kendo
girl.
stick. She's getting a kendo stick across her spine. So
It was across her shoulder blades. Let's listen.
Come on, man. She's taking a beating in this show.
Oh, boo-hoo.
She's getting one right along that Bailey booty.
There you go, Mikey. You can stay.
And now Mike's
No.
officially a member.
He is officially a member now because he used Bailey booty. Attaboy.
So that'll wrap up our show tonight, guys. Thanks for listening in. It's been a good show. We've covered pretty much almost every sport besides baseball because we're gonna be covering baseball for a long time, so we'll kind of give it the week off this time.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about the Phillies after this butt kicking they just got from the Rangers. So thank you for that.
I want to thank our guest Mike Schaefer for being on today. Thank you for sharing your opinions and defending the Ascension.
I will say this: maybe I don't want to speak for Alec and Lewis, but I would definitely like to have you back on.
Yeah, no, four-man band, gentlemen.
We'll definitely have you back on. You will be you'll most likely be replacing me as I come up to places where I have to be instead of doing this. So I want to thank you guys for listening in. Please like and subscribe our video if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching off of Facebook, like our page. Read our articles on feedmesports.wordpress.com. Follow us on our personal Twitters, me at @RomanTheRecan. You could follow Alex at @Birch_Beard007. You can follow Lewis if you truly want to. I don't know why you would, but it's at @Schaefer500. And thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next week with more sports, more wrestling.